According to the 2013 homeless count for LA City and County, there are over 58,000 individuals struggling with homelessness in LA County alone.
All right. Sometimes in the midst of pain, I ask who I am. Every time the universe responds, you a man. Whatever stage you set up, that's where you will stand. So my advice to y'all, be careful with what you plan. Whether you pursue grams or in cahoots with fans, whether you work in the office or you use your hands, if everybody's truly equal, we all should have a chance. We should have to worry about loans and college grants, interest rates, mortgage homes, we all some ants. For example, want to cut your throat just to advance. The masses looking on blinded as if they entranced. I'm looking on too, like God, it's your last chance. Take me where I star in the movie and have the last dance. Besides, I'm skating through life without proper advance. In a restaurant kitchen, scrubbing pots and pans, and that county line to the door, applying for stamps. I know it's hard for y'all living. It's hard for me. None of us has to be born inside of poverty.
It could be anything, again, from a 6-week-old child to a single homeless individual, veterans, families with kids, seniors, those who have mental situations. It could be just about anybody.
One of the most concentrated places of homelessness is downtown Los Angeles, in a place known as Skid Row. There are approximately 11,000 men and women who make their home on Skid Row. 2/3 of these suffer from mental illness, HIV, AIDS, or both.
Downtown Skid Row, when I came down there, even at an early age, I thought it was a trip. And I was like, whoa, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, And yet it was a place to where you met all types of people from every walk of life. And so I would move around back and forth into neighborhoods and in garages, and like I said, and I had a tent over on Town Street as well, and wow, it was a trip, it was a trip, but it was the only thing that I knew.
I ended up on Skid Row in 1981. I came down here as a youth. When I got here, I was at home. The reason I say home is because the people here were doing the same things that I basically were doing, and they embraced me. I can't say that I resulted to Skid Row based on drugs or alcohol, but what I can say is that it was a condition for me, and it was a state of mind. Once it transitioned into a place where I felt that it was like acceptable, the abnormal for me became very normal.
In California, in the area that we work in, one of the predominant causes of homelessness are the chronic health conditions, and those are physical health conditions as well as mental illness. Many of the individuals that we serve not only have one of those, but often multiple of those. So somebody may be living with mental illness and also have HIV/AIDS, or have a chronic health condition, diabetes, obesity, and the coming together of all the different risk factors really leave individuals unable to navigate the systems to get the help that they need. And those are the individuals that LAMP is targeting.
2000, I lost my son, March 19th at 12:45. My son got ran over. I had a meltdown. We call it a nervous breakdown, whatever you want to, how you want to label it. That's what took me there, because I was not strong. I was dying inside, and then it came to life. I ended up losing everything, materialized things in life behind it.
I would hang out down here because I felt right at home, because nobody judged you. If you didn't fit in, it was a hard road to trudge, so you had to fit in. If you weren't tough, that if you could fit in and deal with down there, you could fit in anywhere. But for the most part, you run into people that their lives are such a turmoil until it's a shocker to you. You're black. And a lot of these people just aren't, how would I say it? These people had lives and good homes and education or what have you, but it's things, the turn of events in their hearts and minds that bring about life to where it's like not happening.
Skid Row is just not downtown LA. Skid Row is all over the United States. It's wherever you lay your head, you call that your home for that moment. That is Skid Row.
In 2013, there were about 800 homeless teens identified in Los Angeles. 47% of runaway youths who become homeless have experienced conflict between them and their parent or guardian. Many claim to have been exposed to years of strained relationships due to parental neglect, a parent with an addiction, and sexual or physical abuse.
I was about 12, maybe 13, and I was in a very abusive home. My father was an alcoholic. He drank every day. My mom was, I believe she was on drugs at the time. Every day it was just waking up to abuse. And one day my dad just beat me, and I just left, and I ran away. And I ran and ran and ran, and I ran to the streets.
13 kids die every single day on the streets from homelessness in America. I mean, it's shocking. You know, there are, you know, the count is kind of, you know, always fluctuating, but between 17,000 to 25,000 kids, 18 to 24, the age group we serve, those kids are homeless every night of the year.
I lost my job, and I had no real savings, and I was on my own since I was 18. So I had 2 months up on my lease from once I lost my job, and I couldn't find another job, and I had no real source of income to pursue another place to live in, and I ended up in the streets.
You know, I don't think most people can see homeless youth. They don't see them. Actually, they're hard to identify, because for most people, it's a kid with a backpack. You don't know they're homeless. It's a kid with a skateboard. You know, why would you think they're homeless? But actually, they're living out of garbage cans. They're living with just the clothing on their back. They're constant victims of violence. You know, just to survive one night on the streets can be, you know, remarkable sometimes.
When I first ran away, I ran away to the streets of downtown LA, and I thought I was running from hell to a better place, and I went from one hell to another.
Families are one of the fastest growing segments of Los Angeles' homeless population. Family members make up 12%, or roughly 6,960 of the 58,000 counted in 2013. Many adults and children are struggling just to get by in Los Angeles. A significant number of those are just a paycheck away from losing the security of their home.
I became homeless in September of 2012. I was working for Toyota Motor USA, and they had some layoffs and cutbacks in the customer service department. So from there, I just kind of went through my checking and savings, and it just started to deplete. And the next thing I know, I was evicted, and then we were on the streets.
We became homeless mostly because of economic conditions. We had a roommate who also, for economic conditions, had to leave, and at that point it was too much to take care of for the rent, and everything just sort of fell apart, and we ended up homeless.
Well, we offer 2 residential programs. We have a 90-day family shelter, and we offer a 12 to 18-month transitional housing. Both of those programs are for families with children. The first one is to ultimately get families back into permanent housing, and our transitional housing is focused more on higher education. So getting families the treatment that they need to get education, to get higher skills, to get higher paying jobs.
Domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness in our society. Los Angeles is not immune. Many individuals in domestic violence situations often do not have a support system to help them escape, and fleeing can result in homelessness.
Domestic violence victims, they represent a disproportionate number of family homelessness. So single, female-led families are often a result of domestic violence in the home. And having to choose between living on the streets or going back to the abuser is often what keeps people in violent relationships.
I had an apartment with my sister. We had a falling out, and she no longer wanted to sign the lease with me. I couldn't pay the rent by myself. And that's basically how I became homeless, because all my friends and family who wanted to take me in, they lived so far, but it was too far for my schooling and my jobs. And therefore I declined each one, and I said, I can do it, I can find an apartment, I can find one. I moved back with my baby's father, was the reason why I was being independent. I lived on my own with my sister in the first place. I moved away from him because of abuse. And I had to ask, can I move back, because it was close to my school, it was close to my house, my job. And the abuse started again.
I think seeing someone change from being completely hopeless to having hope and having faith in themselves and their ability to take care of their family and lead a life without violence in their family. See, and there is, we talk about after about 20 days in shelter, there's a physical change that happens with some of the victims. They go from like looking really depressed and not taking care of themselves to actually having hope.
In Los Angeles, 6,291 homeless veterans exist. Many veterans come out of service looking for jobs and frequently find a cold shoulder from society.
I was in the U.S. Navy.
Yeah, I was in the Navy as well.
I was in the Air Force, and then I went Army Intelligence.
My goal is to reach at least 105, or 10, or 20.
Yeah, you probably will make it.
If I can make it till tomorrow, I'm happy.
Yeah.
VA Greater Los Angeles, we have a huge homeless program, one of the biggest innovative centers in the country. We have a post-traumatic stress disorder clinic. We have a clinic that helps returning vets who have been discharged from Iraq and Afghanistan. They will actually hold their hands and walk them through the process here. However, there are programs for every veteran from every genre of the service.
Well, in the military, basically, unfortunately, I did a lot of drinking. You know, it's like you work real hard, you push yourself beyond normal, and you want a reward. So, you know, being the only, it's not too many women at that time when I went in that worked on aircraft, I would go after work and drink with the guys. It's just something that happened. And then, it just progressed.
I was in the United States Navy. I joined in 1973, which I just graduated, and 1 month later I went in. The reason why I went in is because I was a little troublemaker, and so instead of going to jail, I chose to go to the service instead. I'm a recovering addict alcoholic. I am almost 13 years clean now, and I went through an episode of 35 years, that's an episode, of drug use. I was 45 years old when I finally came to the VA, and I haven't left.
We're still alive, we're still breathing, and I almost wasn't, but this program that is being filmed right now could be a chance for others to see you can make it, and there is help.
What if you lost your job? What shelter would you go to? Economic loss and difficulties are becoming so dominant in today's society that people have nowhere to turn when put in economic turmoil.
My mother and I was renting a house from a man up in Lake Beres, and he didn't pay the bank, so for like 2 years he didn't pay the mortgage or anything, and then so one day we just got an eviction notice and we had to be out in 30 days, and that's what led us to be homeless.
I had a seizure and I fell at work, and I ended up in the hospital, and then the doctor put me on disability, and from there it just kind of, we just kind of lost. Yeah, it escalated.
We're in a time now in our society, we're in a time now in this nation that people are one paycheck away from being homeless. They're one paycheck away from being in their cars. And we see incredible individuals that come in that are not chronically homeless, that have a desire to turn their lives around, and they just need a hand up, not a hand out.
It's a scary experience. You know, it's all night, even though you have sleeping bags or blankets or whatever. Especially in a town like this, there's a lot of people wandering around at night, so it's a very scary experience. You never know what's going to happen to you.
For a girl, like if you're a woman out there on the street, they're going to try to attack you, whether you like it or not. You could be just, you know, minding your own business. They're either going to holler at you, or they're going to call you names, or they're going to try to get you to their cars. So most likely it is harder for them, for us girls.
We prayed a lot. You know, it was scary. I mean, the first night it was really bad because we were staying in a service station that was near the freeway, and so the first night it was really scary. But then, you know, you just trust in the Lord, and you depend on Him to make sure that you're okay.
During the course of being homeless, I was also pregnant. So I was pregnant. I just had the baby. Right before I entered the shelter, I had set this goal that I was going to go to school for medical billing and coding. So paying for school and continuing school, even though going through all of this, all of the events, and just that was the hardest thing to overcome. I really had it in my mind that I couldn't finish school. I just had a baby, you know, just had somewhere to stay, and I was not going to finish school, and I went ahead and I completed school.
Biggest challenge in the last 2 years has been how to find full-time employment when you either don't have a place to live, that is to say an address, or a car. Even without a car, if you have a place to live, you could catch the bus, but you can work. You can find work. But with neither of those things, it's nearly impossible.
The biggest challenge to overcome is the confidence in myself, believing in myself.
And so here I am lost and wondering, and then here I am at this age of 55 years old, and I'm still dealing with this stuff. But then I come down here and I see the people, and I see everybody differs, and I see that some conditions are worse than others, and from that point I didn't judge, because I felt like, wow, somebody gotta love these people. I didn't know, I didn't have what it took. Until I come in place with the it sort of tears me up, but you know, and I started going to the wilderness, and I started going to the groups, and I started, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is a thing for me, maybe these people here really do care. And I found out that they did, and I would go here monitoring, and I would come in there. This one day I wanted to commit suicide, and I knew if I went over here, I would hear something. And she wasn't there that day. So I came unglued, and wow.
One time I was hungry. I asked them for some money. They told me that I was not homeless. I don't look like I'm hungry. People judge people too much. They need to stop and listen to a person when they say something. And when you get denied, when you are at that moment, when you get denied, it knocks you farther down than where you already are, because no one is hearing you.
There's a lot of things that people don't understand. Well, they're on the outside looking in the wrong way. It can happen to anybody. It's just a paycheck away from being homeless.
I think they're subject to a lot of discrimination just because of how they look and the way they act, but I think that they don't realize that the streets have made them that way, you know? It's not something that like they choose to be. They're out asking for money. They're out like maybe often just looking like they're loitering, like all dirty. But the point of the matter is like they don't have another option. Like there's not a lot of places where you can just go and shower, or you can go and eat.
So what do you think of when you hear the word homeless?
I think of like, I don't know, it's sad to say like dirty. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think of downtown LA, Skid Row, and I think that a lot of the apartments need to be open for the homeless people instead of one side of the street being totally cardboard boxes and then the other side upper class.
Well, the first word that comes to my mind would be unfortunate. When I think further about it, I think it's an opportunity for individuals to help those in need.
I think if you were to talk to people that, yes, we should help the homeless, the problem is it's not translating into the scale of response that we need to help homeless people. So I could go out in our neighborhood and we talk to people and they say, absolutely, we should be helping the homeless. But that's not translating into the policies that are really having an effect on a large enough scale to end homelessness. So, so to answer your question, yes, I think there's a desire, but the reality is we haven't connected that desire to really making it happen.
I worked for Apple for a really long time, and we'd have a lot of people who were homeless come in there and buy iPhones and iPods and stuff like that. And what I realized is that a lot of the people that you see that are actually panhandling in these like big shopping malls are not actually homeless. They just do that for a job. So it makes it tough because I want to be able to support people who actually are, but now I've sort of made it a policy not to now because I never know who actually is struggling with that as an issue. And then what there's always the question of like what they're going to be spending their money on. Is it going to be drugs or is it actually going to be food?
I think it's a judgment call. I think it's a judgment call based on the individual that's reaching out to him that day. I don't think there's any harm with feeding somebody that's hungry. I don't think there's any harm with maybe pointing them in the right direction or asking them what services they need. And sometimes I just don't think there is a right or wrong answer with that. I think we're all compelled, especially if you start to see some of the things that we're seeing now too, which are adults with children holding signs, shopping malls and sometimes by the side of the freeway. So I think it's an individual choice, but obviously there's some kind of need for services there.
Sometimes just a smile, like they're homeless are people too, and having that human connection with someone is so important and can make someone's day.
We have a lot of people now that are savvy enough that they keep a homeless kit. They have a package in their car that has socks and hand sanitizer and a sandwich and non-perishables, and they'll be able to give that to somebody.
I think if people thought of those things that they fear most, I mean, it's not something you daily think of like, oh, what if tomorrow I just lose my job, or if this happens, or the bank claims my house because I can't pay my mortgage, or all these things. I think it's kind of just putting their fears in their face.
In my view, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and I wasn't in this crowd 20 years ago. I was in a white-collar crowd with a family and doing things where I never had to look at homeless people.
Time is telling us something enough's enough. We keep pushing and fighting, we're breaking bones. Where did you bury the truth? When did you come out of tune? Where did you bury me, bury me, bury me? Ooh. Keep digging, there's gotta be something.
Well, I just graduated in May with my AA in behavioral science, which I'm very proud of myself about because it took me so long. I'm currently enrolled in Dominguez Hills So I'll be starting in August, and like you said, I have a 4-year-old son. And so, I don't know, through that journey of trying to get my AA, it was a bittersweet moment, you know, but thanks to the support that I did have, you know, within the shelter, that I was able to succeed.
We're in a transitional housing program now. We have a place to live. We are no longer living at the shelter, which is a very wonderful thing. And we're having to listen to snoring, and we're having to share the bathroom, and we're having to take a shower in the morning, rather at night, and when you sleep and you're perspiring and yuck.
And only at night.
Yeah, and only at night. And then you still have to wait in line, and you don't know who took a shower before you and what the deal is, and
Stories that you hear previously and my own included, you know, we have something in common. And that one thing is, without places like Lamp Community, there would be no positions for individuals like myself. Lamp has reached out, supported my vision since I have actually been employed here. I've been here 3 years, the longest I've ever worked in my whole entire life. They gave me an opportunity coming from the street. They gave me support, as well as they gave me a salary. To show me that I am human and that I deserve a place in society.
If we listen, learn, and act, changes will start to occur. Each person who experiences homelessness has a personal story and comes from every walk of life. They are families, they are our veterans, they are the elderly, they are foster kids, they are victims of domestic violence or mental illness. Regardless, they are human.
Just endure people for who they are. You know, some people can't handle. They might have a mental problem. They might be a drug addict. They might have lost a child. All handle life different, and we should never be judged. I don't want you to look at me like me because I have a roof over my head. I have materialized things. I have a heart. I have feelings. No, I don't have a lot of money, but I am just as rich as I can be. And that's what people need to stop and look at life.
Cold hard faces in the stone. Words always sound better when you're alone. He'd fight the wind, he'd fight the sea. He would fight anything for me. Midnight comes, the sky is lost. This beauty always comes with a cost. Scream it out at the top of your lungs before I've even clicked my gun. When brilliance goes to wasting, your skin fills with hatred. My blood has not been poured yet, so honey, get your gun and aim somewhere I can't run from. And aim somewhere I can't run from. All these paintings stare at me. They make love look so easy. His heart's a gun that's made of stone. No wonder I'm